What's up, guys? You can have more because you can become more. That's what we're talking about today. You don't have to stay in this spot. Of course, nobody is, but you can absolutely achieve all your dreams and goals because you have the ability to change who you currently are. So your dreams and goals should be as big as you're willing to become. And you don't have to become that thing or that person immediately. You have to be the required person for the next step. Whether that's a good marriage, relationships with your kids, you want to be an awesome parent, you want to make a ton of money, be a business person, an athlete, an author, a musician, like whatever it is, doesn't matter. You don't have to be that perfect person right now. You just have to be able to become the qualified person for the very next step. And you can change and grow as you dream about these big goals. The timing of those goals should be based on the speed at which you can become the person you need to be in order to achieve what you want to do. So if the barriers between you and your goals are, you can't lift enough, find out how to build strength like the strongman competitors do. If it's too stressful, learn to meditate, find out how to manage stress. If it's emotional, work with a therapist, figure it out. If it's wisdom you seek, find some mentors that have been there and done that. They can give you wisdom along your path, right? They need to that they can share their advice with you. Like, think of this. Have you ever started a new job or started a new business or something? And as you're getting started, you kind of think to yourself, I might be in over my head this time. And then within 6 months, you're training the new person how to do your job well, right? It becomes second nature. You've accomplished the tasks, you've memorized the metrics or whatever it is, and you perform very well. You perform at a high level. That's all this game of life is figuring out how to do the next step. Practice it a handful of times, get good at it, and then you move on. And in business or whatever, it's particularly easy to gauge because you can kind of say, well, in order to sell more business or earn other people's more business or serve more people, I've got to increase my skill set. I've got to increase my reach. I've got to increase my network. I've got to become, more tax savvy or whatever it is, right? So it's easy to gauge. I love looking at other people's lives who didn't start in, the best of circumstances and have continually exemplified this principle that I'm talking about, right? One of which is Jim Rohn, who the quote was that I began with. He's essentially the title. You can become more, therefore you can have more. Jim Rohn is the one that inspired that title. And his whole story is that he was this, like small town potato farmer from Idaho or something. And he always says that he was born in ignorance or raised in ignorance, just basically that he didn't have experience in the world. He knew how to make friends and was a hard worker, but he didn't have all this business knowledge in the city, right? He ended up living in multiple different big cities and managing massive companies and networks and making millions of dollars and speaking at huge events and stuff like that. He constantly talks about how Schof taught him. His mentor, Schof. And Schof taught him all kinds of things, how to set goals, that writing them down was essential. And, that challenged him to become a millionaire, not because of the money, but because of who it would make him to achieve such a lofty goal, who he would have to become in order to do that. In fact, Jim Rohn says, if someone hands you $1 million, you better become a millionaire real quick or that money's going to leave you. Right? There's a difference between having money and being somebody who can manage lots of money, right? You hear it all the time. People that win hundreds of millions of dollars in the lottery and things, they're basically broke within 2 years. If you redistributed all the wealth in the world, the money would quickly find its way back into the hands of the same people. Why? Because you can have more by becoming more, and certain people have learned certain skills and primarily when we're talking about finance, certain people really know how to make money, right? You hear him, like Elon Musk, how many businesses is this crazy guy going to start? and make successful. Like he has the ability to engineer, well, literally engineer things, but engineer companies, create companies, and drive them to success. Same with a lot of other people, right? Steve Jobs had a history of doing it. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, like these people know how to find companies and build companies and be successful in finances. You can do that same thing in everything else, right? David Gottman with family and relationships. That guy knows an insane amount about how to have healthy relationships, healthy interactions that are fulfilling for people, right? So you can learn from these people and become more. Let's just walk through a few more, right? So Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, grew up, he was a young kid post-World War II in Austria, very close to some of the worst places in the world to be during that time. And he didn't have a lot of resources. His family was struggling. A lot of people in that, the whole region were struggling. He made his way to the United States basically through bodybuilding, and he built himself up to the point where he could become considered maybe the best or one of the best bodybuilders ever. He was a 5-time Mr. Universe, and he took that success to the next thing. He went to Hollywood. He became an actor. And then he worked on that. He was working harder than anyone, and he basically became the highest paid actor in Hollywood for a time. He moves on to the next thing. He becomes the governor of California. Like, this guy just learns whatever he has to know in order to make the next step. And he's successful, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Warren Buffett, who I already mentioned, he also, he had a pretty middle-class life. He was the standard American, but his dad taught him about finances and things like that. And he of course worked his way into finance, but early on when he started a business, he was not a good salesman. You can hear him tell his own story, but he was not a good salesman. And he said he quickly realized that in order to sell more people on his, basically skill set of investing and things, he would have to change the way he communicated, and he worked on it, became a good salesman in order to then have the assets to invest and become the great Warren Buffett that's made so many billions of dollars through investing, right? He recognized a weakness in his game, and he corrected it, became a multimillionaire in his 30s and a multi-billionaire, currently. Another one, Tony Robbins. Excellent story. He came from I believe his parents were divorced, and so his mother was an alcoholic and very physically abusive as well as emotionally, and that's not an ideal situation to come from for anyone, much less for someone who's gonna be known as basically the greatest influencer of all time. He basically is. He's a billionaire, owns dozens of businesses, but he's most famous for his ability to help people overcome emotional and mental blockages, fears and anxieties and things like that in order to achieve more than they have prior to seeing him, right? And so that's what he's made a career on, and he came from a bad place. One of the most fun for me to watch is professional athletes. They're literally that person that got handed millions of dollars, but they're not millionaires yet, right? In their character, in their being, in their skill set. And you see these guys, because, pro athletes can come from anywhere, like from wealthy class to the ghetto to like other countries, whatever, right? There are all kinds of pro athletes from all over the world, from different backgrounds. And a lot of them come up, some of those that came from like really rough neighborhoods, and they never even they've never even had a bank account, and now they're signing these contracts, signing deals for $500,000 or mega contracts for tens of millions of dollars, and you can see them progress. So that's the same. That's all we've got to do. That's all you've got to do. That's all I've got to do is figure out what's the next step, figure out who knows that information, who's got it, and learn it, right? Inherit that. So as you set off towards your big goals and dreams, the very first step was to dream it up, right? The second step is to seek clarity. around that dream or goal, right? You've got to really define it. So if it's a business or whatever, right, the people you want to serve, you want to understand, who is it that I'm trying to serve? Who are these people? What are they into? What are they like? Who's on my team? Who's coming on this journey with me? What's it sound like in a music form or in spoken word or in a mission statement? What does it look like in a digital art? What does it feel like emotionally or physically or whatever? What is your purpose? What is your why? Like, define these things before you really get too far down the road, and create that momentum with that feeling, that message, that vibe, and then start to understand, what's my next step that I need to take to improve myself so that I can accomplish the task at hand, right? So I heard Jim Rohn say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. I hope you found this video helpful, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you're a YouTuber and you're looking for resources to help you improve your game through analytics and understanding how to, make the search engines happy, I recommend TubeBuddy. So I'll throw that link in the bottom. You can get those resources for as little as $4.50 a month. So I would recommend taking advantage of that. Click the link below. Also, if you did find value, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, share this video, help me reach more people. And thank you for watching as always. I'll catch you on the next one.